Good morning. Welcome to the 2010 Madison County Teachers Institute. We hope today's session is enlightening and enriches your knowledge of contemporary education. We are fortunate to bring to you this morning presenters who will provide information to you that we think will improve your understanding of current trends in education. I'd like to thank this morning the ROE Advisory Council as well as the Institute Committee for encouraging us to use this approach to provide you with this year's County Teacher Institute. This is an innovative means in which we're providing you professional development, and we hope all goes well today. As part of today's professional development, we have the Deputy Superintendent of the Illinois State Board of Education, Darren Reesberg, who's going to present on the Common Core standards and the assessments that teachers have asked many questions about, and we believe that Darren's presentation will help you better understand the direction that the State Board is moving. As well, our keynote presenter, Dr. Steve Sobel, will present on the passion, the power of extraordinary teachers and leaders in our school, which will be very motivational for you, and we hope encourages you to continue your passion as a teacher in our schools today. As always, we're concerned about the quality of education our children receive each and every day that they go to school, and we realize that one day of professional development doesn't suffice that need. For that reason, the ROE is going to launch this year a series of teacher academies in which we'll be looking for lead teachers to help continue our professional development in our county. So I encourage each and every one of you to review this fall's newsletter and read more about our academy programs that will allow for networking amongst our staff in our different subject areas and grade levels. We believe that we have a lot of extraordinary teachers in our schools in these extraordinary times that can help better promote the quality of education. Because of the approach that we're providing you with on this particular Institute Day, our assessment instrument, which is in your packet, is very important because we're concerned as to how well this presentation is received by each of you in your respective districts. So we really would appreciate you complete the evaluation sheet. Also in your packet is a form for you to receive your CPDU credits. And once again, those will be awarded. Without further to say, I'd like to introduce the Deputy Secretary of Education for the Illinois State Board and the Chief Legal Counsel, Mr. Darren Reesberg, on the Common Core standards. Darren.
Thank you so much, Regional Superintendent Diber, and we want to thank your entire office for having us be part of this particular event. It's really impressive to see that you're using this type of innovative means of actually getting to the teachers in your region, and for us at the State Board of Education, we're sometimes disconnected, so it's wonderful to actually be able to directly deal with the teachers throughout our state, and so we're happy to be here. And we have an incredibly important issue to discuss with all of you. As you may know, just a few months ago, the state received the disappointing news regarding its Race to the Top application not being funded for the $400 million that we were seeking to bring home to the entire state. The benefit, though, of the preparation was that we have a state agenda right now that is well packaged to push forward over the course of the next few years. So when we were putting together the Race to the Top agenda, we were focused on the 4 areas that the Department of Education had laid out. Those were standards and assessments, improving teacher-leader quality, using data for instruction, and improving our lowest performing schools. We had a concerted effort amongst all our stakeholders, and in particular our teachers' unions, in putting together this reform agenda. In fact, we had the executive director of the Illinois Education Association with us when we went down to Washington, D.C. to actually pitch our application before the department's reviewers. So we feel right now, even though we don't have some of the dollars behind us that we thought we might in order to push these initiatives forward, we actually have the initiatives, we have the passion, and we're ready to go. And so we thought today we would deal with one of those 4 strands that I just mentioned, standards and assessments, and dig a bit more deeply into what that means. So I'm going to turn now to the PowerPoint presentation that we the PowerPoint presentation that we have on the Illinois Learning Standards and go through that with you. So as it notes here in the first slide, the State Board of Education actually took the step back in June of adopting as emergency rules the Illinois Learning Standards for English Language Arts and Math in grades K through 12. And these are aligned to college and career readiness. This is very consistent with the agency's goal. We have 3 agency goals, or goals of our State Board of Education, and that first goal is that every student will demonstrate academic achievement and be prepared for success after high school. The goal of this presentation will just to let you know how these Common Core standards were developed and what they mean for you as teachers, at least for this year and going forward. There will be more information that you could always find on our website and by contacting us that can allow you to dive more deeply into the particular standards so you can ask questions about why particular decisions were made. Why are the common set of standards important? Well, they're important for 3 particular reasons. Preparation. These standards are designed for students to be college and career ready upon completing secondary education. Quality. That teachers are given more flexibility to teach standards in depth and across disciplines that can be tailored to fit the student's needs. Important point to note is that the standards are not there to dictate how teachers are to teach. We believe, as did everybody who developed these standards, that it's important for teachers to have the flexibility to do that. These are just standards as to what to potentially teach to. And the third, skilled workforce. The standards are there to emphasize skills and application. So not just content. We're very much interested in seeing actually the skills and implementation develop beyond just content to prepare students for working in the current workforce. 3 additional reasons for purposes of these standards are clarity. The standards are designed to help teachers, students, and parents understand what is expected of them to be ready to enter the workforce or college. As we'll note later, one of the criticisms of the prior Illinois Learning Standards was that they were not clear. It was sort of confusing. They were considered to be lower standards, and this actually lends a tremendous amount of clarity and increases the standards. Consistency. The standards will be level and level the playing field, so all students will be held to the same rigorous expectations. And importantly, as the folks that develop these standards were very interested they were very interested in seeing that these were going to be internationally benchmarked. We've constantly seen both Illinois and standards across the U.S. compared to some other countries. Finland is always pointed to as being the pinnacle. And we wanted to make sure that we were looking across all international countries when we were actually looking to develop the standards. The next slide actually just demonstrates where, in fact, those who developed the standards were looking to in creating them. So this just demonstrates how these were evidence-based and goes through some of the countries that were looked to. Importantly, there was a tremendous amount of involvement from all types of education stakeholders, but most importantly, involvement of the teachers. The NEA, the AFT, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and the National Council of Teachers of English, among other organizations, were instrumental in bringing together these standards and providing feedback. Right now, we also have teachers that are involved in what's called the gap analysis, where they're going to be comparing the Common Core that has been developed for English Language Arts and Math to our prior standards, just so it becomes very evident as to where the differences are. So this is a summary, but just points back to some of the earlier slides. The mantra for these new Illinois Learning Standards are that they're fewer, they're clearer, and they're higher. As I mentioned, they're internationally benchmarked. They emphasize 21st century skills, so beyond just content, and they're evidence-based. The term college and career ready has been bandied about frequently as these standards have been rolled out, and it's been somewhat unclear as to what that term means. So it's in the materials that those who developed the Common Core standards have put together. They've laid out what it means to be college and career ready. These points on this slide here lay out some of the points of what college and career ready means. Demonstrating independence, building strong content knowledge, responding to varying demands of audience, task, purpose, discipline. They comprehend as well as critique. They value evidence. They use technology and digital media strategically and capably, and they come to understand other perspectives and culture. So in terms of all of the different strands in each of the grades that you'll see for both math and English language arts, you'll see the aspiration towards these college and career-ready goals. We'll now go into a bit of an overview of the actual standards themselves. So in English language arts first, the K through 12 English language arts standards are benchmarked to 10 college and career readiness standards. K through 8 standards are listed by grade level, which is a change from what it was in the past. So you actually have specific standards for each grade, K through 8. And then with respect to standards for grades 9 through 12, they're banded in 2-year bands, so 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. For each year, you have 4 separate strands: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So you will have standards in each of those strands for each of those grades, with again 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 being banded. With respect to math, there's a K through 8 math standards organized by what are called domain, clusters, and standards. So this is, if you're looking sort of at the pyramid, the domain or the more overarching top of the pyramid goals. The clusters are actually clusters then of individual standards for the grades. Continuing on in terms of the math standards, you have grade level standards, K through 8, grade by grade standards organized, as I mentioned, by domain. And then in 9 through 12, high school standards are organized by what are called conceptual categories. There are standards for mathematical practice, which describe mathematical habits of mind, standards for mathematical proficiency, including reasoning, problem solving, modeling, decision making, and engagement. And then the 9 through 12 math standards are organized by, as I said, conceptual categories: number and quantity, algebra functions, modeling, geometry, statistics, and probability. We've consistently said that the move from the Illinois Learning Standards as we saw them to the Common Core for English language arts and math is an evolution and not a revolution. There's not an expectation that this is going to be happening immediately and that everything that teachers have known in terms of standards are going to be thrown out the window. But there should be a focus on looking at these new standards and doing what is possible to put these in place as soon as possible. As I'll get into in a moment, the assessments are not immediately changing. In fact, no changes will be made for the 2011 ISAT and the PSAE. We are going to be transitioning to a point where we have new assessments in place for the 2014-2015 school year. In terms of the work that's underway, this is what I believe is most important for your purposes, because as I said, this overview is in a short amount of time and is just designed to whet your appetite in terms of what is happening with respect to the Common Core standards and assessments. But the State Board of Education and the regional offices of education in particular are going to be doing their tour of the state to make sure that a deeper discussion is had around the Common Core standards so that more detailed questions can be asked and can be answered. The 2010 summer activities have already taken place in that respect, but they will continue through the fall. The State Board of Education has a website right now that includes a number of different documents for different types of stakeholders. So for teachers in particular, there are documents as to what this means. And so those can be found linking onto the Illinois Learning Standards webpage on our website. As I mentioned, we will also be performing this gap analysis, and we will be providing informational webinars similar to what we've done today, but more focused on particular areas. The website that I mentioned right now is on your screen, so it's isb.net/Common Core/, and there is a tremendous amount of information there that you can view at your leisure.